And now taking the stage, a Roan Scholar from ETSU, Cierra Linka.
Have you ever gotten a job that you felt unqualified for? I have. Twice in 1 year, in fact. The first time, working with horses, and the second time, writing a children's book. But let's start with the horses. I arrived at ETSU 2 years ago, fairly certain that I would major in social work. Looking back, that decision was born out of a lot of childhood dreams. I wanted to be an EMT, a police officer, a firefighter, a helicopter pilot. For me, the sky was the limit. Maybe you had those dreams too. As I grew up, I realized what held those dreams together was that I wanted to be a helper, like most kids do. Social work as a discipline allowed me to learn how to be a professional helper. After my first year at ETSU, I had the opportunity to complete a summer of service with support from the Roan Scholars Leadership Program. I knew that I wanted my summer of service to be related to my passion for social work, and through a series of fortunate events, I interviewed for a position at Holston United Methodist Home for Children in Greenville, Tennessee. As many of you may know, Holston is a 24/7 residential facility for court-ordered youth that provides hope and healing for a brighter future by sharing the love of Jesus with children and families that are struggling with life's challenges. I think I thought I was interviewing for a desk job that day, but I was incredibly wrong. Holston saw something in me that I did not see in myself. They thought that I would be a great fit to be an equine specialist in their adventure-based counseling program. Let me tell you about my previous levels of horse experience prior to that summer. It was minimal, to say the least. I think I'd ridden a horse maybe 2 times prior to that summer, 2 times in my whole life. So you, like me at the time, might be wondering, what is an equine specialist and what does it have to do with helping kids? Let's start with the basics. If you did not know, equine means horse. So at Holston, I helped with the horse-based therapy program. But at Holston, they practice a certain type of equine therapy known as EGALA. EGALA is geared toward emotional and psychological reformation therapy. It is used to create a therapeutic bond and experience for a client, in this case, the students at Holston. EGALA is experiential in nature, meaning that clients learn the most by doing. In EGALA, horses are used as a tool for reflection. That's what the experts say about equine therapy. Here's what I saw. Have you ever looked into the eyes of a horse? It is both magnificent and terrifying all at the same time. Don't know how, but it is. Horses are creatures of feeling, just like we are. They reflect the emotions that we exhibit, acting as a mirror for our feelings. There's something about horses that makes them different. They are steady, consistent creatures. The horses at Holston show up every day to work to take on any challenges that the students may throw at them. They are so consistent. I mean, there has to be a reason that Old Town Road remained at the #1 position on the Billboard Top 100 for 17 weeks in a row, right? But horses are there for us more than just emotionally. They're also there for us physically. And by this, I mean that horses are present. They're a guaranteed constant. Horses listen, horses do, and in my opinion, horses look like love. Now that I've gushed about why I think horses are so great, I would like to introduce to you my favorite horse of all time, and his name is Peppy, the horse that won my heart. Let me tell you a little bit about Peppy. You see, Peppy is short, and Peppy is wide, and Peppy is never in a hurry to get anywhere. We got to spend a lot of time together last summer. You see, students at Holston didn't really understand Peppy and the way he did things. So for my job, I had to ride him a lot. But Peppy taught me that everybody is full of surprises. Students like to call Peppy lazy, but I'd rather call Peppy easygoing. But Peppy also taught me a lot about how to enjoy life. Pepe showed me how happy I was when I slowed down to match his pace on the trail. Pepe showed me how frustrated I got with my limited horse experience whenever he didn't listen to my commands right away. And Pepe showed me how I needed to stop and smell the flowers whenever he would veer off the trail. Like I said, Pepe taught me that everybody is full of surprises, but more importantly, Pepe taught me about how we can love and care for one another better. That summer, Pepe helped me develop what I call my personal motto for life. And my personal motto for life is 2 words that you might have heard before. Love does. So, what does love does mean to me? For me, love does means choosing to use your life as a means to love other people well. Love does not always look like giving people what they want, but rather, love looks like giving people what they need. And that's what horses do for us. They give us what we need. They give us a space to figure things out. They give us a mirror into our deepest selves. And horses listen. Horses can't tell us that they love us. They show us. So what do you do with this kind of incredible experience? And then I thought about what Pepe would have done. Love does. So when I arrived back at ETSU with support from the Roan Scholar's leadership program, I wrote a children's book. With support from my great friend and fellow scholar, Clara Reynolds, she helped illustrate this book for completely free. I wrote this book specifically for the students at Holston, but soon this project grew and I had almost 600 books to distribute for the children in the Tri-Cities for absolutely free. But I want to make it very, very clear. I did not write a children's book to write a children's book. It has never been a dream or a goal of mine. I wrote a children's book to love the children in our community in a way that they may never have been loved before. I wrote it so they would feel empowered, and I wrote it to hold up a mirror for who I saw them to be. But my book is also based on a true story. One day I was on a staff ride with my supervisor and a volunteer, and per usual, I was riding Pepe. There's a pattern. And she looked over at me as we were on the main Holston Trail getting ready to walk up this very, very big hill with a beautiful view of the mountains. And she said, "Cierra, have you ever ran with a horse before?" I promptly responded with what was a hard no. She asked me if I wanted to. I promptly responded with what I hope sounded like a confident yes. You see, I've learned that a lot of things in my life tend to come at me very fast, so if I don't take a shot at it, I'm gonna fail for sure. She quickly gave me the rundown about what was about to happen, and as soon as it started, it was over. I heard her call, 3, 2, 1, and we were off, buddy. We were gone. And within seconds, Pepe and I busted through the lead, and we won the race. So you must imagine how flabbergasted I was. My supervisor laughed and laughed and laughed, and finally she explained to me why Pepe won the race. See, she told me that Pepe is a Tennessee quarter horse, meaning that Pepe can sprint at astonishing speed for a quarter of a mile. Yeah, it's true. So that's right. The short, wide, easygoing Pepe is a sprinter. Yes. Pepe is full of surprises, but Pepe decided to race. He could have done what he usually does on that trail, which is sludge his way to the top, but instead, Pepe decided to offer me an unforgettable memory. And that is all I ever wanted to do for the students at Holston. This summer, I stayed in the Tri-Cities to host what I call Pepe parties. What's a Pepe party? It's where we gather together and we play games like pin the tail on Pepe, horseshoe race, or hobby horse races and horseshoes. And then I do a reading of my book and I give away my book for free. I had 4 Pepe parties this summer, and one of those was at Holston. But at the Holston Pepe party, I did a little bit more than just play games, read my book, and give away my book. I also shared my story. I had the opportunity to tell the students at Holston that my story looked a lot like theirs. When I was in high school, I was introduced to an organization called Young Life. It was at Young Life where I was first told that I was loved and valuable and worthy of being pursued relentlessly. And now I had the chance to tell that same truth to the students at Holston. At the Holston Peppy Party, after I finished reading my book, I had a line of students waiting one by one, ready to connect with me. They would all say things like, "My story is like yours." I only recognized one or two faces in the crowd at Holston. You see, students usually only spend about 6 to 8 months at Holston, but sometimes things don't work out and life happens and they have to stay a little bit longer. One of the young boys that I remember walked up to me while I was giving out books. I looked at him and I said his name. He looked up at me and he beamed. The look on his face is what I think love looks like. As I was giving out my book, students repeatedly came up to me and pointed to the one picture in the book that showed students grooming Peppy. No matter how little or how much the students looked like that picture, they all said the same thing. That's me. That's the power of love does. It's not my job to tell people what love is. That is not what social workers do. It's my job to tell them what love does. For them, for me, for the people in our community. When we feel loved, we feel heard, known, and cared for. But most of all, we feel helped. I would like to thank you all for coming to my crash course about why I'm obsessed with horses. But before we leave today, there are 3 things that I would love for you to take back to your families and your communities and your jobs. And for our purposes, we're going to call them Peppy teachings. So what's the first Peppy teaching? Take the job that you feel like you're unqualified for. Holston held up a mirror for me and showed me my potential. Please don't sell yourself short just because you feel like you're unqualified. I guarantee 9 times out of 10, you're not. My second Peppy teaching being, we can all be helpers. Do you remember how I talked about when I was a kid I wanted to be a helper? I think that desire lives within all of us, and I urge you to recover that desire to be a helper. I think that we can apply the values of social work into our everyday lives. My third Peppy teaching being, be a horse for somebody else. Be consistent. Be steady. Talk less. Show up. Horses don't talk. They do. And remember, love does. Thank you.